almost a whisper, long pauses between sentences. Somewhere in the Strait of Malacca, a radio operator tapped out his final message. It said, "Every officer is dead. The captain is dead. Probably the whole crew." And then, through the static, 2 more words. "I die." After that, nothing. No ship was ever found. No bodies were ever recovered. And to this day, no one can prove the vessel that sent those words ever existed at all. This is the story of the SS Ourang Medan, a ghost ship from the years just after the Second World War. A vessel said to have carried an entire crew to a silent, terrified death, then vanished beneath the sea before anyone could ask it a single question. It is one of the most retold maritime mysteries of the 20th century. It is also one of the most slippery, because the deeper you dig, the less of it you can actually hold in your hands. Before the legend, picture the world it came from, the late 1940s. The war is over, but the oceans are still crowded with merchant ships, tired freighters hauling cargo through the busy shipping lanes of Southeast Asia. The Strait of Malacca, the narrow stretch of water between Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula, is one of the most trafficked corridors on Earth. On ships like these, the crews were ordinary working men, sailors far from home. A radio operator hunched over his Morse key in a cramped cabin, a captain who knew these waters. And, as the story goes, even a ship's dog padding along the deck. The name itself comes from the region. In Malay and Indonesian, Orang means man or person. Medan is a port city on the island of Sumatra. Put together, Ourang Medan reads roughly as Man of Medan, a local name for a ship that, if it was real, was sailing local water. According to the most repeated version, it happened around June 1947, though you should hold that date loosely because it changes from telling to telling. A distress signal crackled out across the strait in Morse code. Several ships are said to have caught it, Dutch and British listening posts, and 2 American vessels, most famously a freighter called the Silver Star, along with another named the City of Baltimore. The message was fragmented. "We float. All officers, including the captain, dead in the chart room and on the bridge. Probably the whole crew, dead." Then the signal dissolved into meaningless dots and dashes, as if the hand sending it was no longer in control. And in some versions, those last 2 words break through the noise. "I die." Then silence. The Silver Star was said to be the closest, and she changed course toward the source of the call. When she pulled alongside, the story describes a ship that was simply wrong. The Ourang Medan sat dead in the water. No lights, no movement on deck, no lookout at the rail. Hails went unanswered. Signal labs got no reply. And, in the detail that retailers always linger on, not even the ship's dog made a sound. A boarding party crossed over. What they found, the story says, was the crew. All of them, dead. The bodies lay on their backs, on the bridge, in the chart room, in the passageways, in the engine spaces. Eyes open, mouths open, faces locked in expressions the boarding party read as pure terror, as if every man had been looking at something unbearable in his final moment. And yet, no wounds, no blood, no sign of a struggle, a fight, or a fall. The ship was undamaged, the cargo untouched. The dog, too, was dead, frozen in the same strange way. There was no obvious cause, just a crew that seemed to have died, all at once, of something none of them could see. The boarding party, the account goes, decided this was far beyond them. They rigged a line to tow the Ourang Medan to the nearest port, and that is when the ship denied them the chance. A fire is said to have broken out in one of the cargo holds. It spread fast. The rescuers cut the line and pulled back to the Silver Star, and from a safe distance, they watched the Ourang Medan burn. Then, in the most dramatic versions, she exploded with enough force to lift her in the water before she slipped beneath the surface. She took her dead crew down with her, and she took every answer with them. This is the real mystery. Now here's the part that turns a horror story into a genuine puzzle. When researchers went looking for proof, the kind of paperwork that follows any real ship, they came back empty-handed. There is no entry for an SS Ourang Medan in Lloyd's Register of Shipping, the maritime record that has tracked merchant vessels for centuries. No registration documents have surfaced in the Netherlands or anywhere else. No crew manifest, no build records, No photographs, no insurance claim, no official accident report, and no wreckage has ever been found on the floor of the Strait of Malacca. A ship of that size leaves a paper trail. This one left almost nothing, except a story. So where does the story come from? The earliest threads trace back to the 1940s, reportedly appearing first in Europe before spreading. The version most people know comes from a series of 3 articles in a Dutch-Indonesian newspaper called De Locomotief, published in early 1948. Those articles were tied to an Italian writer named Silvio Scherli, and even the newspaper's own editors added a cautious note, admitting they couldn't verify the tale, and that it might simply be a thrilling romance of the sea. A few years later, in May 1952, a version appeared in a U.S. Coast Guard publication, The Proceedings of the Merchant Marine Council. That gave the legend an air of officialdom, but it read more as a retelling of a chilling rumor than a documented investigation. And here's the catch: the details never sit still. Depending on the source, the year is 1940, or 1947, or 1948. The location is the Strait of Malacca, or near the Solomon Islands, or the Marshall Islands. Sometimes there's a lone survivor, sometimes there isn't. Every retelling seems to add a new layer. That's exactly how a legend grows. Give the listener the darkest explanation, the one that keeps this story alive on late-night forums. Something not of this world. The frozen faces, the expressions of terror, a crew struck down all at once with no mark on them, and a ship that conveniently destroyed itself before anyone could examine it. To some, that points to the paranormal, or to a secret so dangerous it had to be erased. In this version, the Ourang Medan was carrying an experimental weapon, or stumbled into something the early Cold War wanted buried, and every record was scrubbed on purpose. It's a gripping idea, but it leans entirely on the scariest reading of unverified details. There is no evidence of any weapon, any cover-up, or anything supernatural. Only the absence of records, which a missing ship would explain just as easily. When the only proof of a monster is that you can't find the body, you don't have a monster. You have a story with a hole in it. Now, if we assume there was a real incident behind the legend, there are far more down-to-earth explanations, and they actually fit the clues. The first is poison from the cargo. A 1953 German booklet, The Death Ship in the South Seas, championed for decades by a researcher named Theodor Searsdorfer, suggested the Ourang Medan was secretly hauling dangerous chemicals, potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin in some accounts, sulfuric acid in others. If those were poorly stored and began to leak, the fumes could have killed the crew quickly. And volatile chemicals would also explain a sudden fire and explosion, and why a ship smuggling illegal cargo might never appear in any honest registry. The second, and to many the most convincing, is carbon monoxide. A smoldering fire, or a fault in the boiler or exhaust system, can flood a ship's interior with an invisible, odorless gas. Carbon monoxide kills without a single external wound, and a slow-burning source could later erupt into the fire the story describes. It accounts for the unmarked bodies, the suddenness, and the blaze, all at once. But here's where an honest account has to be honest. Each of those theories has a crack in it. If toxic gas filled the ship, why weren't the boarding party from the Silver Star affected when they walked through it? If the bodies were merely poisoned, where did the frozen in terror detail come from? Or was that simply how a sensational story chose to describe ordinary death? And every one of these explanations still assumes the ship was real. Which brings us to the explanation most maritime historians actually favor, that the SS Ourang Medan, as we know it, never sailed at all. That it's a maritime legend, perhaps inspired by a real but garbled incident, perhaps stitched together from older ghost ship tales, that was embellished with each retelling until it hardened into fact. Investigators like Roy Bainton have spent years on it and kept running into the same wall. No ship, no wreck, no records. Just the story, getting better every time it's told. And so we're left where every honest telling of this case has to end. We don't know if the SS Ourang Medan was real. We don't know if a crew truly died with terror on their faces in the Strait of Malacca, or if those men only ever existed in ink. We can't even agree on the year it was supposed to have happened. Maybe there's a missing ship resting somewhere on the seabed, holding the truth in its rusted hold. Or maybe the only thing that ever sank was a good story, into the place where good stories go. The sea keeps its secrets, and this one, it is kept very well. If you have a theory about what really happened to the Ourang Medan, toxic cargo, an invisible gas, or simply a legend that grew in the dark, leave it in the comments. I read them. This has been the Vanished Files, a new case every week. Until next time, stay curious.